One. What is up, guys? And it's David here, back with another episode, and I'm here with Sheik. And today we're going to talk a little bit about him, a little bit about motivation, what inspires him, how he got into the rap game, a little bit of a symbolism of his tattoos, and a lot more. So, Sheik, welcome on the show, man.
Hey David, thanks so much for having me, man. It's an honor.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure. We've been, as you guys know, Sheik and I have been friends for oh man, for more than
Over a
10
decade, man.
years, more than 10 years. And we've been through a lot together and so many good memories, some not so good ones, but hey, we go through it's a part of friendship and a part of life. So Sheik, to kind of start this episode, tell me about tell my audience about yourself. What do you do? What's your pastime?
So right now, I'm working as a data analyst at this payroll company called Palsy. I've been there for a couple years now. Um, Outside of work, I enjoy reading, writing, going on hikes, nature walks, playing video games. Mostly a Nintendo, PlayStation guy. Um, and yeah, man, I just really love the arts, going to museums, and just really exploring the creative arts.
That's awesome, man. And I know that you seem to be really artistic. So, and I know you recently got tattoos. So tell me a little bit about the significance about those tattoos. What do they mean to you? Like is there a meaning behind it?
Yeah, definitely, man. That was kind of a big change for me. Like I never thought in a million years that I'd have tattoos on me, but towards the end of last year, around August, kind of when the pandemic started, a few months into it, I started feeling really down about myself, having all these negative thoughts, and I really got to the point where I felt like I needed a big change, both inside and out. And one thing that I wanted to do was get tattoos because to me that represented a big change, and it also allowed me to kind of express my creative aspects of myself physically on my body. So I got the first one back in around September of last year. It's kind of like a diamond with my middle name, Asif, in Arabic script in the middle. And to me, I always felt like Asif. Well, the thing is, my family calls me Asif, but everyone else pretty much calls me Sheik. So I always felt like Asif kind of represents like my true self. And that was a point in my life when I was kind of losing my cultural identity. I was losing sight of what made me unique, and I wanted that to kind of show that this is who I am, and I'm proud of it. And I wanted to kind of encase it in a diamond because diamonds form under pressure. They always grow the most under pressure. And looking back in my life, all the times that I've experienced the most growth have been in difficult times when I felt really under pressure. So to me, that was a good representation of myself. And then I got the second one this past March on my right forearm, which is kind of like a lotus flower being surrounded by water waves. And to me, the lotus flower has always been a great symbol because it represents eternal growth, you know, and to show it being overwhelmed by waves, um, it kind of goes back to the fact that lotus flowers always grow even in the murkiest of waters, even in the most dangerous of conditions. And I kind of tied that back to my life by saying, okay, well, no matter what we're going through, no matter what I'm going through, whether it's a good time or a bad time, I'm growing and I'm showing my strongest self. And it kind of goes back to culture as well, because I come from South Asian descent. I'm mostly, I come from North Indian and Pakistani descent. And the lotus flower is kind of like a very important symbol in East Asian culture. So I kind of wanted it to be that to kind of, go back to my cultural identity.
That is awesome, man. Like it's always good to kind of go back and reflect on yourself, especially through all your life experiences, whether negative or positive, and to just take some time to find yourself, to find out who you are. Because because like I've mentioned before in previous podcasts and previous appearances, it took me a while for me to find myself, but I was able to eventually and embrace who I am as a person and as a disabled individual. So it's pretty cool. We have that in common. To kind of go into this a little bit. What are some ways you cope with negativity, and how do you keep your positive mentality going, your motivation?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it really goes back to the point that you just made about how, how it usually takes a lot of time to find yourself. I definitely agree with that. Sometimes it might take a few months, sometimes it might take a few years. But when you do find yourself, it's a very great, it's a beautiful thing. As far as coping with negativity and just difficult times in life, that is something that kind of took me a long time to kind of get to a point where I can do it. Um, but a lot of it is just me like pretty much erasing the idea that I have to compare myself to people around me, right? It's the idea that there's always going to be somebody that's better off than me. There's somebody that's always going to be worse off than me. So I always like to say that, the only person you should be in competition with is yourself. So that allows me to kind of focus on myself 100% and to just kind of, I guess, put myself in a bubble in a way so that I'm really focused on just dealing with whatever I'm dealing with. And yeah, man, it's just one of those things that you just got to keep going. It's life. There's going to be ups and downs. You kind of have to learn how to ride the waves, no matter how tough they are. So yeah, so I've gotten to the point where it's very, I won't say it's easy, but it's relatively easy for me to just deal with the bad times and just to know that the good times will come. They might be a long ways away, but they will come. So it's kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. So all those
Yeah,
things kind of help keep me in check.
that's a great analogy. I mean, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel with anything in life.
Yeah,
You just gotta slowly make your way up there. I mean, it doesn't take. It could take a day. It could take a week, a month, even years for somebody to find themselves. And um, it seems like you've done that. And then what are your biggest motivators? Like who who do you believe supports you the most? Like do you lean on family? Do you lean on friends? Or do you have any mentors that kind of help you along the way?
yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of like a mix of family and friends. Definitely, first off, my parents. They've always been there, my biggest supporters. I always, whatever I do, I always try to make them proud. They've always kind of been my main supporters, my main support system. And I've definitely made a lot of friends when I was in college. And I did have a very strong mentor. Shout out to Mauricio Garcia from Seminole State College. He's the one that really, once I met him, I felt like my life really took off for the better. He was the one that always kind of pushed me to be the best version of myself, to kind of get out of my comfort zone, get out of my shell, and to really just strive to be a better person. And the lessons and all the lessons that he taught me over the years still I still keep those in my mind to this day, even though it's been over 5 years since we first met. Um, so yeah, I always kind of try to think back on all the things that he's taught me, and it was a lot of tough love too. But I think that tough love is definitely needed. And yeah, definitely. I mean, honestly, you man, like you've always been one of my biggest motivators. Just to see all the things that you do, even when in college, all the things that you used to do, what you're doing now with the podcast, seeing you crush your fitness goals like over and over again, man. It's incredible to see. And whenever I think of you, I always get this like big burst of like motivation, like, okay, whatever I'm going through, I can do it. So yeah, man, you always have been like one of my biggest motivators.
Hey, brother, I appreciate that. Um, that's what friends are for. They're there to support
Yeah,
each other.
absolutely.
Like I said, we're practically family. So,
Yeah,
we've known each other
no doubt.
forever, and
Yeah, man,
we still got a long way to go.
for sure, man. It's gonna be a good journey.
And and we've been through a lot. Like, for example, Sheik and I used to listen to we every once in a while we'll sit in the car, put on some Lupe Fiasco, and start trying to rap over here. And I'm butchering the lyrics. He's trying to sing them right, and we have a good laugh. I mean, it's a great time. And we listen to all kinds of rap and all kinds of music, and something that resonates with us. And music is something that helps you also establish your identity and find yourself, and kind of it's kind of an escape from reality. Now, speaking about escaping from reality, I know you just started writing music yourself and writing rap lyrics, and I just wanted to kind of go, I guess, into detail about how you got into that and how does it help you with with yourself and your life in general.
Yeah, definitely. Music, specifically hip hop, has been one of the biggest passions in my life. I first got into the genre back in 2009. It's funny because I never used to like rap that much growing up in like middle school and high school, because all I would hear would be just all the stuff on the radio, like Shake That Laffy Taffy, you know what I mean? Like is going
Yeah.
down, I mean, those things are fine and all, but I never really felt like inspired by it. It never really resonated with me that much. Um, but one day back in 2009, I decided to, give it another shot. Like, okay, surely there's a lot of different rap out there. So I started looking up some of the best rappers of all time to get a good starting point. And one name that I kept seeing come up was Nas. And I checked out his debut album, Illmatic, which came out back in like 1994, and that completely. Ever since I listened to that album, it just changed my perspective on the genre completely, because he would just spits all these intricate lyrics about his experiences growing up in New York, and then growing up in a rough neighborhood, and the way that he just like the vivid way that he would tell his stories, like it was incredible. It was like nothing I'd ever heard before in my life, and all the beats that he would rap over would be these really soulful, jazzy instrumentals. And I just really loved that sound. And ever since then, I got addicted to the genre. And right after that, I discovered Lupe, like you mentioned earlier, Lupe Fiasco, and he's gotten to be my favorite musical artist of all time, man. Because he one thing that he always has been known for is being kind of nerdy, right?
Yeah.
And I've been kind of like a nerd myself. But he made it seem like it's cool to be a nerd. Like he preached that in his lyrics, and he's also one of those rappers that's just very intelligent. He spits a lot of conscious lyrics. He comes up with all these creative concepts to kind of show his message and to deliver what he's trying to convey. So that's always stuck with me. And, listening to all these rap artists have made me kind of want to start writing lyrics on my own, because through listening to these artists, I've kind of realized that writing is my favorite form of expression. It's they said that the pen is mightier than the sword, and I agree with that 100%. Because with writing, it's like, okay, anybody you can. It's insane like how powerful words can be, and how people can be moved by just like a verse, or even just like a phrase or something like that. Um, and yeah, and just for me, growing up, since I was been from New York as well, I lived there for about 7 years. I've always kind of felt that connection to the genre, because hip hop kind of started in the Bronx, in the late '70s. So I always felt like close to the genre because of that. And because of all the things I've been going through, I'm like, okay, I really need a way to get this off my chest. And through rap, through writing lyrics, I've kind of discovered that. And it's a lot of fun, man, just trying to come up with different ways to kind of convey your message, coming up with different like flows, different ways to make your lyrics sound different, make them sound more engaging, more interesting. It's amazing. It's just a lot of fun. And um, one thing I got this idea for was to write kind of like an album of spoken word poetry. I don't know if I'm gonna put it over beats just yet. That might come, down the road. Get
Hey,
put it, yeah,
it
focus
takes
on nice
time, you know, it
instrumentation.
takes
Yeah,
time.
man, absolutely. And yeah, so I kind of came up with this idea for a spoken word album to kind of convey my journey from when I was younger to now. And I've made some good progress. I always wanted the first track to be called Catharsis, because I felt like I have a lot to say, and up until this point I haven't had enough of a chance to say it. So that's going to be probably like a good. I always joke that it's like a 5 paragraph essay in rap form, but it's just going to be like this, just bar after bar after bar of just my experience, my thoughts, my concerns, things I feel upset about, and it's going to be really powerful, man. I'm really excited about it.
Uh, I'm looking forward to it, and I hope, or at least everyone hopes, that the people around you that have seen your work, um, you're able to prosper and be able to actually make something out of it. You know, because I know at first when you and I used to chat, you'd be like, you know what, I'd rather do this for myself, and I don't feel comfortable getting out there. But it seems like
Mhm.
you have a plan in place, so it's gonna take some time, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I did post some lyrics on Instagram a while ago, and I got some great feedback about it. But eventually, I want to make it to where I can perform at maybe an open mic night. Maybe for now I don't put it over beats, but at least I can just perform the spoken word part. And so I'm hoping to do that within the next year or so. Work up, the courage to actually maybe perform Catharsis or another song that I've written, just to kind of get it out there and see what people think.
That's awesome, man. I'll be out there for sure. So
I appreciate
supporting
it,
you,
man.
man. You gotta support each other, you know?
Yes, sir. So
Yeah, so it's awesome, bro. Being able to see how much you've grown through just like life and leaps and bounds in general. Um, and then I know you and I met back in we met back in high school, and I've always wanted to know when you first met me, like what was your reaction? Because I know you've because I have a disability, and we first met, and I'm pretty sure for you it's kind of like, I don't know what's this guy, what does this guy have, like what's up with him, like, like how am I gonna mess with this guy, like what was your reaction when you first like met me in general?
yeah, so I think when I first met you, I mean, I definitely noticed like, okay, he's walking with a walking stick. Um, I didn't really think anything too negative, I guess, because for me, I was dealing with a lot at the time in terms of like social anxiety and stuff. So for me to see somebody who's not what's considered a normal quote quote, it didn't really phase me too much. And he seemed like a really chill guy. He seemed very determined. Like even with your disability, you didn't let that stop you from achieving what you wanted to achieve. So I was like, wow, this guy, he's probably gonna be going places. And sure enough, you have.
Hey man, that's awesome. I like, I like hearing feedback like that. What was I gonna say before I lose my train of thought? We and I know that we've dealt with a lot of hurdles, you and I together, like when we're hanging out, like some places aren't accessible, and like parking spots and accessibility in general. Like
Mhm.
how do you feel about that? And what do you think should be done to improve all of that? Because I know you and I have been and on the front lines of those situations where we've parked somewhere and it's difficult to get there, and I usually get exhausted. And what do you think should be done as far as that kind of situation?
Yeah, man, it's definitely a shame because people with disabilities, they should be able to enjoy these places to the extent that people who don't have disabilities do. I know there are some, like you said, there are some parking spots that are disability friendly, but I think there can definitely be more. You know what I mean? Especially as places around us start to expand, get bigger, they start to be able to accommodate more people. It's definitely important to not forget about people with disabilities in the process. So yeah, definitely, um, adding more in parking lots, adding more disability spots that are very close to the to whatever venue, if it's a restaurant or a concert venue or whatever it is. Maybe offering, if it's like a large place, like a large venue, um, offering some sort of shuttle service, so that people with disabilities don't have to walk super far to get to where they need to go. Um, so yeah, I think that definitely needs to be kind of at the forefront as places start to expand.
Yeah, hopefully within the next few years or decades or whenever people decide to think about others for a change instead of themselves. So that's one major thing. Um, so to kind of wrap all this up, what advice would you give those out there right now that are currently struggling with themselves and trying to identify who they are and just getting through their own life obstacles?
Yeah, definitely the first thing I would say is don't be afraid to voice your issues, whether it's to a close friend or a close family member. Um, don't struggle alone. I've had a lot of good friends tell me that whenever I've been going through some stuff, and I finally worked up the courage to kind of speak out. They would tell me don't ever suffer by yourself. You know, they say that no person is an island. That's 100% true. There's always someone that can help you out, whether it's a friend or family member or even strangers. Um, it always makes it easier to kind of share your issues, share your concerns with somebody else. Um, and then other than that, you just have to, going back to what I mentioned earlier, like just stay focused on you. Try not to let others, like what other people, maybe there's somebody that's not going through things that you are. Try not to feel like kind of envious about that, because that's definitely a temptation. It might feel some sort of like jealousy or resentment because of that. There's people, we all go through things, so it's always important to just focus on you and just take care of yourself. You know, Especially physically. I think keeping yourself in good physical shape is a good way to help you go through to carry yourself through whatever life throws your way. You know, Getting a lot of sleep, keeping yourself physically fit, drinking a lot of water. It's important to take care of yourself from the inside, and then that'll just propagate outward.
Good answer. I mean, you just gotta, like you said, you just gotta focus on yourself. That's most important. 100%. 100% for sure. Um, are you currently working on, I guess, a website to post your music in or anything like that?
Yeah, that's probably going to be next steps. Right now, honestly, I'm just kind of writing all my lyrics on like notes in my phone, so I have
Okay.
everything kind of in one place. And I think the next step is going to be start to post some of that stuff on Instagram or Facebook. Um, and then eventually, yeah, I would love to just make a website that has all of it on there, and maybe kind of like maybe it'll also incorporate like a blog where I kind of walk through kind of like my mindset when I was making these songs and what drove me to write some of these lyrics. Um, yeah, that's definitely in the works. Hopefully soon.
Hey, y'all heard it here first. Sheik's over here making moves with this in the rap game. And if
Yes,
and if
sir.
and if those big names are listening, you got to collab with this guy. This guy's really good.
Yeah, lyrics are nothing
Who
to
knows
mess
one
with.
day? Who knows one day you'll be collabing with Nas and with with Lupe if he decides
Yeah.
to come back for one more.
Oh man, man. I can't even express. That'd be a dream come true. I can't. It'd be amazing.
Hey, hey man, I truly appreciate you stopping by and being on the show. And it's been, like I said, it's always been a pleasure to, you know, um, be your friend and be a brother. And thanks for being on the show and always being so supportive, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for being a good brother to me of all these years. You're a great friend. It's been awesome. Looking forward to all the adventures we'll be going on in the future.
All right, man. So if you guys like this episode, you'll find it on YouTube, on Spotify, and all other major podcasting outlets. And as I always like to close up the show, if I can do it, so can you.